What is going on, everybody? Kevin Calhoun here. This is the Calhoun Show. We are knee deep in the first round of the NBA. We are, as I sit here now, a half hour away from the start of round 2 of the Stanley Cup playoffs. We have the NFL draft 24 hours from right now as I sit here. And we have one of my favorite people in the world, Dan Condie, coming into the studio later on in the show. So let's get this thing going, shall we? And before we do the opening music, as we always do here on the Calhoun Show, first off, let's say welcome to all of our new listeners every week. Thank you guys for pushing the show to more people. We're getting more and more people by the week, so this is really cool. And welcome to everybody that's new. And thank you for hitting subscribe. And we'll go through all the links and all that stuff as we always do. But there's one other thing I have to do to start this podcast off, and that is to say congratulations and thank you to a friend of mine. So, as I mentioned on the podcast last week, I have accepted a job, and starting Friday night, I will be hosting my first Bridgeport Bluefish game as the on-field host, doing all the between inning stuff in the crowd, talking on the microphone to everybody, getting the crowd pumped up, doing silly things like t-shirt tosses and YMCA's. It's gonna be amazing. I'm very excited about it. And Friday night will be my first night doing that, and I'm working all weekend. So with that comes what was bad news for me and for one of my best friends, which is that I'm gonna miss one of my best friends' weddings this weekend because of the job. And they were super understanding and super awesome about working with me throughout this process. And it's a time of life where everybody gets to freak out, and you can't get mad at them. And there's no reason to, because they were right. And they're some of my best friends for a reason, and they didn't do that. And I'm going to miss their wedding this weekend, and I'm really bummed, but I wanted to take a minute before I got into anything else, because it's the most important thing happening this week, to say thank you, and also a gigantic congratulations to John and Erica. This weekend should be amazing for you guys. I'm very sorry I'm going to miss it. I can't wait to see all the pictures and to have a beer with you guys and reminisce and hear all the fun stories. So congratulations to you guys. I'm very happy for you. Thank you so much for helping me throughout the last couple weeks trying to figure out if I could be there or not. I'm very sad I'm not going to be, but I'm very proud of you guys, and it's going to be an awesome night. So have fun with that. And I'm gonna have fun. I'm gonna have fun doing some baseball, but it's bittersweet, and it was a win-lose either way, whether I got the job or not. So I love you guys, and have fun. All right, let's get the show going. Yeah, let's do it. It's the Calhoun Show. Always, you can follow this show on Twitter at Calhoun Show and email us at calhounshow@gmail.com. You can like us on Facebook and subscribe to the show on YouTube, where all the shows go up in their entirety, as well as it's available on iTunes, Stitcher, and SoundCloud. And we tell you every week that if you could go on iTunes and leave a nice little 5-star rating and a good review, it helps push the show to more people. There's a voicemail line open all the time, 860-740-2119 is the number to do that. And if you want to follow me on Twitter, I don't tweet too much, but it's at ShutUpCalhoun. So let's get going here. And there's no other place to start but the NBA. Now, we've seen not a ton of surprising things. However, we find ourselves now questioning what is going to happen moving forward. And it's not like we had everything laid out before, but the things that have changed are things that we didn't necessarily expect. Number one being Golden State losing Steve Kerr. And it looks like Kerr might miss the remainder of the playoffs. He might be gone. It might be Mike Brown's team from here on out. What does that mean? Now, we can look at it in the most simplistic terms, which is the fact that they've been through this before. And does that matter? Does it matter that Luke Walton took over this team and was almost perfect as a head coach? If he wasn't perfect, it was maybe 26-0, something like that. It might have been more. But they won a lot of games without Steve Kerr when he was sick and recovering. So is this team? I mean, it's so weird to propose an idea like this, but can this team coach itself? And if it's capable of that, can it coach itself at a high enough level to win an NBA championship with the added knowledge that they're the best team. And that is the best team. It has four of the best 10 players in the NBA on it. So if there's a team that should be able to lose a head coach, it's either that team or Cleveland, because respect to Tyronn Lue, that's LeBron James's team, and we all know that. So I don't think that we're going to see this manifest itself in the next 3 weeks. I think Golden State will be fine moving through the playoffs here. I think that their ability to score 45 points in the first quarter against Portland the other night, I think that they're going to be playing a team in Utah or the Clippers, but more likely Utah, who currently leads that series 3-2 as I sit here now. Either way, neither of those teams scare you if you're Golden State, or if you're a fan of Golden State. If you're a member of Golden State, obviously you're not going to say anything other than, everybody is an equal opponent. We got to play up to our ability, and we can't beat ourselves. All that stuff. They're a way better team than either of those. So I'm not worried there. And then you look at the other side of the bracket, and what do you see? You see Houston is past OKC, and we can talk about that with how Oklahoma City went down the way you expected them to go down, with Russ doing an absurd amount of heavy lifting. But in the end, you just find yourself questioning if he did too much and if he didn't let other players go. Dan was here with me the other day, and we were talking about this, and Steven Adams, is he a 19-8 guy if you let him be? Maybe. Is Oladipo a 21-6-5 guy? He might be, but we don't know, because Russ doesn't let it happen. And maybe he's being told not to let it happen. Maybe he's being told to do what he's doing, or, and this is just as likely, and this is just as okay, it's on the head coach if this is the case. Maybe the rest of the team is okay with Russ leading the team the way he leads it. I have a hard time believing that. I have a hard time believing that these guys who are capable of a lot more enjoy seeing somebody shoot the ball 30 times or 80 points in a row run through him, whether he's scoring them or assisting on them. Isolation plays for other people, pick and roll plays for other people. These are things that are really useful that aren't necessarily utilized at the highest level by that team. So whether or not you believe Russell Westbrook was the MVP of the season, we know that James Harden has that team in a better position. And he did all year. They won more games, and it showed in the first round of the playoffs. So they're going to play the winner of San Antonio and Memphis. And that series, Dan told me a stat, and he can reiterate it later. I'm not sure if I'm going to remember it exactly now. I believe Popovich has been in a 2-2 series in the first round 7 times, and he's 7-0 in those game 5s. And I think now he'll be 8-0, if I have that correct, after winning last night. We loved the comments that Fizdale made after game 1. Memphis has shown a lot of fight. LaMarcus Aldridge has been borderline invisible in this series, and that's the second best player on that team. This cannot be the Kawhi Leonard show. This has to be Kawhi Leonard and LaMarcus Aldridge. LaMarcus Aldridge is too big a name to be a supporting player. So San Antonio is bothersome because for years and years and years, I would refuse to pick them because they were boring and they would constantly upset me in the playoffs. And lately it seems like I pick them because I think they're sneaky good, and then they disappoint. So they're up 3-2. It looks like they're going to advance and they're going to play Houston. I hate that matchup for them. I don't think they can run with them. But those are the times that San Antonio wins. When I start to lose faith, is when it starts to fall apart for me. So the Western Conference Final in the NBA is going to be Golden State, and it's probably going to be Houston, but it could be San Antonio. And I think at that point, if it's San Antonio, I think that's the point where we start to see the absence of Steve Kerr make a difference. Moreover, in the NBA final or finals, whatever, that's going to be when we start seeing it. Is if they get San Antonio. I think if they get Houston, there doesn't need to be a lot of thought. It's we shoot better than you. We do your game better. San Antonio's I guess, a tougher matchup because of the interior defense and the rebounding ability that the Spurs bring to the table. Maybe that could be a series. I don't see a threat. I don't see a threat out of Houston or Golden State. I don't think Houston does anything as good as Golden State does them. And I don't think San Antonio is young enough or fast enough to stay in a 7-game series with the Warriors. So the absence of Steve Kerr might take until the finals to be felt. And maybe he's back by then. And we hope he is, because you want that team clicking on all cylinders. And that includes the head coach. That includes the guy with the clipboard. So on the Eastern side, I was sitting so damn pretty with the Chicago Bulls. They go up 2-0 in Boston. I was told no chance, no shot. The Bulls have no opportunity to win this series. They go to Boston. They win 2 on the road. And Rajon Rondo gets hurt. God damn it. I mean, unbelievable bad luck. Unbelievable bad luck. So Boston goes into Chicago, takes 2 right back, and they're going to play tonight here in Game 5. I fully expect Boston to close out that series. Washington and Atlanta. Now, this series has been fun because Atlanta has brought a lot more to the table than I expected. And that series sitting at 2-2. As I record right now, they're in the third quarter. That game will probably be close to over by the time the podcast ends. Right now, it sits at 60-51 for the Wizards, looking to go up 3-2. I believe the Wizards will get out of this series, but I've been impressed with Atlanta. It's a team. That's a team. What I mean by that is they do a lot of things well as a unit, and it's why they've won a couple of games against the Wizards, who I think are more talented by quite a bit. John Wall might be the second best player in the Eastern Conference playoffs, and I think it's really just going to be a toss-up between him and Giannis. So and Kyrie, to be fair. So he's been wonderful. Toronto and Milwaukee. Speaking of Giannis, that series sits at 3-2 in favor of the Raptors. And it's been fun. I expected this series to end in 5, but Milwaukee is a scrappy team, and Giannis does everything well. He was, one of the few players in NBA history to add his name to the list this year of guys that led his team in all 5 major categories with points, rebounds, assists, steals, and blocks. Crazy what he's been accomplishing. And then finally, Cleveland swept Indiana. It didn't necessarily feel that way watching the games, whether it was the gigantic comeback in Game 3 or the big collapse and then righting of the ship late in Game 4. LeBron hits the big 3. They get a great turnover, a good steal from Kyrie, and they close out. And those are the players you expect. That's the main takeaway. That is what you expect from those guys, is to close out that situation. And Cleveland sits right where you expected them to. And they're awaiting Toronto, and I think Toronto is going to be a tough out for them. I expect Cleveland to move on, but that's a 5 or 6 game series. I don't see another sweep. And then on the other side, if we end up with Boston and Washington, I love Washington in that matchup. I'll say it right now. I don't believe in the Celtics as a playoff team. I think they should have gone out at the deadline and acquired something. And if the players weren't there for them to go get, I understand that. But I'll be looking for them to do something here with all of the picks in this offseason, because we've learned in the NBA and in all of sports over any amount of time since sports have been around, the window is often shorter than you think it is. We lose sight of that with the Patriots, and we lose sight of that with the Spurs. But just as quickly as the Patriots happen, there are 40 teams. Some teams go through it 2, 3, 4, 5 times in a decade that things look promising and then they fall apart. And then things look promising and then they fall apart. And maybe Boston has something building here with Isaiah and with Brown and with Horford. And obviously Brad Stevens is a great coach. They have Brooklyn's pick in the draft. It's going to be a great high pick this year. They're going to go out and get a great player. But I don't know if that builds enough. You have too many assets to not go do something. So point is, I don't believe in the Celtics as a playoff team. And I think they would have lost to the Bulls if Rondo didn't get hurt. I think they will lose to Washington if they play Washington. I think Boston's best chance of making it to the Eastern Conference Final is for Atlanta to come back tonight or win games 6 and 7. Because Boston matches up really nicely with the Hawks. So that's where the NBA sits. I'm not going to go too much more into it now because Dan Condie will be here to close out the show, and we will talk some more NBA along with some NFL draft when he gets here. So for now, let's transition to the other playoff sport that is happening at this time, the National Hockey League and the Stanley Cup playoff. Let's go.
The Calhoun Show.
So this week, the timing on this actually worked out really beautifully for us for the NHL. As I mentioned before, we are 20 minutes away now from the second round of the Stanley Cup playoffs beginning. So we have a nice, clean first round to recap. So that's pretty convenient. So here we go, and I want to start in the West, and I want to start in the West because do we have exciting teams moving on 50% of the time, which is the coincidentally exact same ratio as the East. So let's start at the top with the number 1 seed, Chicago Blackhawks, and they come in against the Nashville Predators. Everybody loves Nashville. PK Subban, Ryan Johansson, Philip Forsberg, Pekka Rinne. This is a great roster, great team. Are they ready to get over the hump, or is Chicago, big bad Chicago, ready to just come in there and do what they do? Now, we know what happened. Nashville sweeps them 4-0. And if I can recommend something to you guys, and this is a podcast I've recommended here before, go check out Sunday night's edition of Merrick versus Wyshynski. If you're a hockey fan, and I can give a little bit of it here. Their breakdown of the first round was tremendous, but Jeff Merrick from Sportsnet, obviously one of the co-hosts of the show, started the show with just a perfect analogy. And if you are a hockey fan and you know the situation with Chicago and the way that they've been structured over the last few years, the brilliance of this is really intricate and lovely, and I couldn't get enough of it. And if you don't know, Chicago's won 3 cups in the last 7 years, but they have big contracts for guys like Taves, Kane, and Hossa, and Seabrook, Hjalmarsson, and Keith. And when you put out a lot of money for those players, we've seen a ton of players leave the Blackhawks for greener pastures, and the green part of that being the operative one, because Chicago has not had any money to pay a lot of these young players. And now they're in a point where what's coming down the pipeline for them? And that's what Jeff and Greg were talking about on MVSW. And the analogy that Jeff made, and it's a lot longer, and I really, really would like you to download it and give them credit for it, is or just listen to it because it's awesome. But he's talking about being at a bar, and more and more people start showing up. That's my chair, by the way. Sorry about that. But more and more people start showing up, and everybody's having a good time, and we're ordering food, and we're ordering shots, and it's a great night, and they're singing, and there's dancing, and everybody's carrying on and having a good time. And then at 2 a.m., the waiter comes over, and he's got the bill, and sitting there, and the lights are on, and the bill's in your hand, and now you realize it's time to pay up. You've been having a lot of fun, but now it's time to pay up. And that's the way he introduced the talking about the Chicago Blackhawks. And it's a beautiful analogy, because Chicago has wined and dined and stretched their limit and stretched their pocketbook, but now they sit there, and this starts to feel like the end of the night, where what's coming down the road here for this team through their system or through the ability to free up cap space. They fired their AHL head coach. They didn't fire Quenneville. Why don't you fire Quenneville? It's possibly because all of your money is tied up in guys with no move clauses. So what can you do? They did a lot of good things, and they won cups. They won cups, 3 of them, and that's got to be commended and celebrated. But now they have some decisions to make. So Minnesota and St. Louis. Minnesota felt like the better team all series. I'm happy to see St. Louis move on, though. They have more exciting players. Having Tarasenko and that forward group going up against Nashville in the second round is going to be just a blast to watch, and that series is going to be really exciting. On the other side in the West, the Ducks and the Flames. The Ducks are just a more physical, better team. They won the series 4-0. The series felt closer than that. The games felt closer than that. But Anaheim's a team that knows how to win in the playoffs. Calgary, to me, doesn't feel the way that they're being represented, because Calgary seems to be everyone's like year or 2 year away team. I think they're a player or two away from really competing. Starting between the pipes and then moving into just superstar level. And Johnny Gaudreau might be that guy, and Sean Monahan's great. They have good defensemen there with Giordano, Hamilton, but I think they're a player or two away. Now, the Ducks winning that series is annoying because everyone's sick of the Ducks, but the Ducks are not going to play the San Jose Sharks. And I had this one wrong, but I am very excited to have this one wrong. Edmonton wins in 6 against the Sharkies and move on. Connor McDavid in round 2 against Ryan Getzlav and Corey Perry and Hampus Lindholm, and it's going to be a blast. And for me, this is super awesome because we are 1 round away, if the chips fall in our favor, from Nashville, Edmonton in the Western Conference Final. And you could not pry me away from a TV if Nashville and Edmonton are playing in the Western Conference Final. That is going to be an absolute blast. Just an absolute blast. McDavid, 4 points in 6 games to start his playoff career. He was great. Talbot had the one big stinker, but aside from that, he was really good. Exciting that Edmonton has moved on. That, to me, feels like the team that's a year or two away. But the path to the final, it's not impossible. It's not impossible for Edmonton. And they're not going to have home ice here against Anaheim. But I don't know. They would if they got to the final against either St. Louis or Nashville. So if they can get by Anaheim, they'll have home ice in the Western Conference. So we shall see. We'll see. But that's a really exciting Eastern or Western Conference second round. On the Eastern side, Montreal and New York. I was obviously dead wrong 1 week ago on this podcast when this series was tied at 2. And I saw a best of 3 scenario. I said, I want Claude Julien, I want Carey Price, and I want this team. And Henrik Lundqvist just stole it away. He was phenomenal. And let's talk for a second about Madison Square Garden and the Ranger fans here. Matt Zuccarello, not an American player, and Henrik Lundqvist, not an American player. Montreal's captain is Max Pacioretty, who is an American player. And at the end of this game, after Zuccarello has the goals to win it, and Lundqvist carries the team, the Swedish goaltender and the American-born captain of the other team's team is about to lose, Madison Square Garden is chanting USA. All right, that's cool. I heard that live and was just sitting here wondering, I mean, really? What are we doing? What's going on? Ottawa, Boston. Very happy to see Ottawa moving on because we get more Erik Karlsson. And again, if you haven't watched the highlights of what Erik Karlsson is capable of, it's about time you start watching. This series is going to be great between the Rangers and the Senators. I don't think either of these teams is going to the Stanley Cup final. I think obviously the winner of the other side of the Eastern Conference bracket is going to the Stanley Cup final and will probably win the Stanley Cup this year, but we'll get to that in a second. Either way, Ottawa-Boston was a fun series. Ottawa's Game 6 performance with the comeback was great, and I'm excited to watch them play the Rangers. So that gets us to Washington and Toronto. Toronto is, now Edmonton might be a year or two away. We don't know. Toronto is a year or two away. And they are certainly a player or two away on the defensive side. They need to get better defensively. They have good players. They don't have great players. Morgan Rielly is as close as they have to a great defenseman, and that's not good enough. You need somebody better. Morgan Rielly's a good number 2. They need to improve, probably get 2 top 4 defensemen on that team, and look out because Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner, we saw Kasperi Kapanen in the playoffs. These kids can play, and Toronto's going to be great with Mike Babcock. Also, Frederik Andersen was fine. I'd like to see a goalie, but that's hard to do. If you can build a good team, we've seen Babcock win with great goalies. We've seen Babcock win with okay goalies. So if they can stylistically play better defense in front of the goalie, Anderson might be good enough to win in the playoffs, but you got to get better defensively. And then finally, the last first round matchup we have to talk about here in the NHL was between my Pittsburgh Penguins and the Columbus Blue Jackets. I said it last week. I'll reiterate it now. Columbus was punching up the whole time. Pittsburgh's just a better team. Sure, I'm a Penguin fan, but I'm not saying anything that's out of turn here. Pittsburgh's faster. Their third line's better than Columbus's first, so it's a series that's not going to go well. The interesting things here, Fleury Murray with the Penguins goaltending situation, a rehash of what happened last year, just in opposite roles, with Murray hurt and Fleury wins round 1. Now they're going to get Washington, and Washington is 14-18 all time in the playoffs in their series outside of Pittsburgh. When they play Pittsburgh, they are 1-8. This is the best Capital team that is playing this is the best Ovechkin Capital team that's going to play against the Crosby Penguins in the playoffs. It's the best one. It's their best chance to knock the Penguins off. This should be a blast of a series. I feel a little bit like my Giant side coming out here when I look at this rivalry. What I mean by that is when the Giants are talked about with the Patriots, because everyone, and rightfully so, it's the best football team of my lifetime, fears the Patriots, except for Giants fans. And it's not because the Giants are better than the Patriots. It's just because the Giants were the two teams that broke the armor, had two teams that broke the armor. So we don't hate them as much as everybody else. That's how I feel about the Capitals. Everybody in the East is terrified of Washington. This matchup is scary. They're the best team in hockey. Probably not as scary as it should be. And could Washington win this series? Absolutely. I'm not picking it to happen. So, speaking of picks, let's pick the second round here before we get to Mr. Condie, when he and I are going to talk a little NBA and some NFL draft stuff that's coming up this week. So, Nashville, St. Louis. I love Nashville here. Tons of depth on the forward side. Electricity on the back end. Rene looks great. Jake Allen was unconscious in the first round against Minnesota. I don't think that can continue. And I just love the environment in Nashville. I think they're going to win the first 2 games at home, and I think St. Louis has a hard time digging out of that hole. Edmonton and Anaheim. My heart loves Edmonton and wants this young team of kids to keep going. I think Anaheim plays too complete a game, and I think they're going to beat them up. And I think by the time, if this does go 6 or 7, I think a game 7 in Anaheim, after 6 games of just big hits from a very big group of forwards, could wear Edmonton down. But if you look at it from the other side of things, is there a more similar team to San Jose than Anaheim? And Edmonton just ran past San Jose with the exception of 1 blowout loss. So it could happen. I would love to see it happen, but I'll pick Anaheim in 6. New York and Ottawa. Lundqvist might be able to take another series here. I think that the Rangers play a better playoff style hockey. I think we saw it manifest itself against Montreal in the last 2 games of the series. And if Lundqvist can keep doing what he's doing, they're going to be fine. The problem here is that Erik Karlsson is so far and ahead the best defenseman in the series. I mean, New York's defensemen are not good. I don't want to hear about Ryan McDonough. Like, they're not good. Dan Girardi is a traffic cone. So does Ottawa have the forwards that can exploit it? Maybe. Maybe they do. Maybe they don't. I'm going to take the Rangers in 7, but this could be scrappy, and it could go the other way. But I'll take the Rangers in 7. And then finally, the Penguins and the Capitals. If you want a great read up on this, check out the Pens Blogs post from Jesse Marshall. Jesse's one of the best hockey writers out there. Put up a great piece talking about the defensive breakout and neutral zone pressure that the Penguins and Capitals apply, and how similar they are to each other. So the keys for the Penguins here, they're playing without Chris Letang. They're hoping to get Carl Hagelin back, whatever Matt Murray brings to the table if and when he hits the ice. But this is just about execution. Malkin and Crosby were quiet in the Capitals series last year. The Penguins got out of it, but they were quiet. That can't be the case again. Those two have to come to play. Malkin was tremendous in the first round. He got absolutely no love from any media outlet ever. But he was great in the first round against Columbus, and he's going to have to be again, because when you add a player like Shattenkirk to that team and you look at the other additions and the cohesiveness that they play with and how steady they are and the offensive pressure that the Capitals are able to put on teams that can't get out of their own zone, and we saw it with Toronto, just get hemmed into their own end just consistently. So without Chris Letang, can the Penguins find their way out of their zone? We don't know. But if they can, I expect the Penguins to win the series. I expect they will find their way out of their zone, and I do pick the Penguins in 6 games over the Capitals. They close it out on home ice in Pittsburgh to move on to the Eastern Conference Final. So those are the hockey picks for round 2. Let's take a break and get Dan in here. This is The Calhoun Show.
The Calhoun Show.
And Mr. Condie's back in studio. Good evening.
How we doing?
All right, we're watching the end of Atlanta, Washington. So before we get into
not a bad game.
before we get into the draft stuff, which obviously is tomorrow, we'll talk a little NBA. We were just talking before we started recording, so we'll talk a little NBA. You agreed with me. No reason to fear the lack of Kerr until the finals.
No, I don't think so. I mean, I actually thought the Spurs would come alive, but for whatever reason, they're being themselves.
It's just, it's so bothersome.
Isn't that like them?
It's so bothersome. I can't get over it.
Right when you count them out, they come back from being down 2-0 to sweep the remaining 4 and win it in a game 6.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the Spurs' MO. They did it to the Thunder. I think, was it the year after or the year before the Thunder lost to the Heat? I can't remember. It may have been both years.
It might have been twice.
Yeah, I mean, the Thunder, it seems like, got out to a lead against the Spurs at least in 2 series, and then the Spurs came back and swept it. So
they had an MO too, because they did it with Golden State too.
Yeah, and they've done the same thing to lose series when they were up 2-0. So you can't bet on the Spurs.
Yeah,
it's
so
a bad bet.
Golden State will be fine.
Yeah, they'll be fine.
Cleveland's fine.
Cleveland's fine. Houston and the Jazz, I think, will make it through, and they're done.
All right. So I took some pot shots at you because you weren't here about the Bulls and Celtics.
Yeah, dude.
But can you agree with me? Boston's not winning another series.
After this one?
Yeah.
No.
Washington is a way better team. I think John Wall would be the best player in that series by a lot.
Yeah, but I would.
And Bradley Beal
would rate the Bulls. I would rate the Bulls as a more difficult playoff team than is Atlanta. I don't know, that may not be the case. Maybe Atlanta's better than I give them credit for, but I think that the Bulls are a better team.
I think first 2 games with Rondo, they're a better team.
Sure.
I don't think they are now.
As a team, at full strength.
Yeah, Atlanta. I was talking about it before. Atlanta's okay to watch. They're a fun playoff team as a unit, but yeah, they're not gonna do anything.
No.
So we joked the other night about Blake Griffin, least surprising injury.
Yeah, least surprising injury, I think, for sure. Yeah.
Just yeah, I know.
That's all I gotta say about that.
The Utah.
I was gonna say Dwayne Wade, maybe.
Yeah.
He'd overexert himself, try to prove that this season wasn't what it was, which was a disaster for him.
It was. Well, and just to finish the Clipper thing, that Utah Clipper series, I can't. I don't care.
No.
It's a buzzsaw team for Golden State.
Hayward.
Yes. Enjoy it because
Good for Stockton 2.0.
Yeah,
do your best.
He'll be great in Boston.
Oh, man.
He's gonna be.
Oh yeah, he didn't sign that extension. Are you kidding me? No one signs an extension in Utah. Oh my gosh. Darren Williams went through hell in New Jersey for how long?
It's because being out west sucks, Dan.
Yeah.
So anyway.
How dare you?
How
dare you? I'll pretend I didn't know what that meant.
There's only like 3 people that get that, but that's okay.
True. It's for you.
That's just for us.
Special.
So the NFL draft.
NFL draft
tomorrow night. And
guess who has the number 1 pick? You won't believe it. It's the Cleveland Browns.
How shocking.
Normally a contender year in and year out, but this year, just tough luck.
Something went wrong. Something went wrong in Cleveland.
They'll fix it. They'll turn right back around.
Things didn't go exactly how they wanted them to go, but that's okay. That's okay. They're going to rebuild.
Okay. Right.
They're going to rebuild, and they'll be
behind you.
They'll be back
in the rear view.
All right, so Myles Garrett is the consensus one.
Right. Why would they not?
You have to.
You have to.
That's a guarantee. Well, as close to a guarantee as you can have, right? Going to be a good player.
Let's put the caveat with the quarterbacks available. Myles Garrett is a have to.
All right, so you watch a ton of college football.
I watch more than the average East Coast person.
That's true. We have better things to do. So
UConn women's basketball.
Damn, I can't believe we lost. I care. Like I care. That streak was fun. I watched about a minute of it. So you watch a lot of college football.
Yep.
And I watch a bunch of tape for the month and a half leading up to the draft. Like tape is in like what's on TV. I don't sit down and break down game film.
Yeah, sure. Or if I happen to twist your arm.
Well, I mean, hey, I like college football.
Love it.
I do love college football, but like I don't watch it all the time. I watch more than I let on. You know that.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
So I'm not gonna lie to you.
Yeah.
I really, really like Deshaun Watson.
So do I. And why do you like him? Because I'll say, why do you like him?
I think he's more accurate than he gets credit for, and the dude clearly is good in the fourth quarter.
Meaning he's a winner.
Yeah, he's a winner.
Look at his record all time. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter what level. I understand he came out after his sophomore year, but his only 2 years that you can look at, ended in the final game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And they were both amazing performances.
Correct. And either one of those two games could have gone either way. They were amazing. And the one thing that sucks about him coming out is that I think if he stayed for his junior year, you could argue how much money he's throwing away, right?
Yeah.
But he's not going to go number one. He may not even go in the top 5.
He might not.
He might not go in the top. I think he goes top 10. There's going to be somebody who will trade up because that's this kind of draft. Somebody will see what we're seeing.
Yeah.
There's going to be an office that sees what we're seeing. My thing is the W effect. You know what I mean?
Okay.
You follow the record. He knows how to get it done. I think no matter what system you put him in, he can do it. And the accuracy speaks to that, which is what you were talking about.
Yeah, so he's super accurate. He's fiery. If you hear him talk about that last drive, which obviously culminated in the Renfro touchdown, he goes to the sideline and Dabo Swinney says, we can kick 3, go to overtime, and he said, "You said we're here to win. Let's go. This is a guaranteed. This is the coverage they're going to run. This is the play we're going to run. Renfro's going to catch. We're going to score a touchdown.
Right.
That's the guy you want.
Right.
You want that guy as your quarterback. So I brought him up because I know that they've been down this road in the draft 5 times in the last 10 years.
Right.
And they did it again last year with a second-round pick that we still don't know if he's even capable of playing at any level in the NFL with Christian Hackenberg.
Right.
If you're the Jets at 6, I'll say this to start. I don't know a damn thing about Mitchell Trubisky. I don't know anything.
I
don't know anything.
Neither do I.
So maybe he's better than Watson, so I'm not going to argue Watson over him because I don't know anything about him.
I attributed UNC's success to their defense, so he kind of snuck up on me, to be honest with you.
Yeah, so that's fine. Whatever about Trubisky. If he's a better player, somebody else will draft him, or maybe the Jets would.
Sure.
But if Deshaun Watson is sitting there, or if they're both sitting there and you think Trubisky's better, and if he's better than Watson, because I think if Watson's sitting there at 6, I don't let him buy me.
No, I don't think so either.
If you're the Jets, you hear this kid talk, this isn't New York-style quarterback. He can handle that.
Yep.
I love him. Is there a player in the first round that, because Watson's that guy for me, I'm like, that wherever that guy goes, if the system is in place, which means, there's a good head coach, they know how to develop people. Right. The Jets would probably be the last team that I would put on that list of teams that's good for him.
Yeah.
But is there a player in the first round that you just absolutely love that doesn't just will succeed, like just a guy that you love?
Yeah, Jamal Adams.
Okay.
Out of LSU. I think as far as talent goes, the safety position in the NFL is one that you can put and guarantee success in that position almost. Mm-hmm. I mean, it is one of those positions where you're especially when you're drafted that highly as a safety. You're thinking Ed Reed, thinking Eric Weddle, these people that just have a sense of the field. They're just field generals, and that doesn't change to the NFL. The schemes change, but when you are in that position, nothing is behind you, and your mentality is nothing can get behind you. They are really the quarterbacks of the defense, in my opinion. That may be skewed because I played that position more, but I think that he will succeed more quickly than would, Peppers or...
Who does he remind you of? I know you gave a couple players there, but who does he remind you of?
To be honest with you, he reminds me a little bit of Matthew out of LSU, coincidentally. He always had that sense of being where the ball was, and Jamal Adams really reminds me of that type of player. So I hope that the 49ers pick him up. If not, I think the Bears will at 3. Both of them, because he will be the can't pass player in a draft that's not really exciting. It's not really top heavy. We'll call it that.
It's not, but there's a lot of interesting nuances to this one. So one of them, and we can stay at LSU.
Yep.
With Leonard Fournette.
Yes.
How does his game translate, and what kind of team should he go to?
Funny enough, I think the Jets can use him. If he falls past the Jets, I think the Giants, if he falls that far, I think there are enough teams ahead of the Giants that have more significant needs line-wise and, DB quarterback-wise. So I think those picks will go ahead of him. If he can fall to the Giants, I think that would be a huge pickup for them as well because he knows how to run north-south, and he runs over guys.
Mm-hmm.
And the New York Giants style football just kind of gives. It seems like you only survive in New York if you're this big, bulky guy. Does that make sense? Like a Frank Gore type.
I agree with that, but I'll give you a counterpoint. And this is a guy, and I think the Packers are a better team for this guy, but I think the Giants could use him immensely.
I can see that.
With Christian McCaffrey. I think McCaffrey, because McCaffrey, I heard McShay talking about it, and there's been a bunch of people talking about it.
For the Giants, you mean?
For anybody, the Packers, I think, are perfect for McCaffrey. For his skill set, because
he'll catch.
Dude, this guy, they're talking
Anyone
about
who can catch.
They're talking about GM's big boards in the NFL, and this guy, is the number 5 running back and the number 4 slot receiver.
Yeah.
Like, this is a legitimate dual threat player.
He's a white Ray Rice that's just a little bit taller and skinnier. I don't know if he's taller, but I would bet $1 million that he is.
So, but that's if
having met his father.
Being a Giant fan, my list of players that I would want, the first one's not going to happen, is O.J. Howard. He's going to go in the top 10.
Right.
The second player I would want would be Fournette, but I think he'll probably be gone. I think the Giants are at 23.
Yep.
Somewhere in there.
That sounds right.
That would be my second one. My third one would be Dalvin Cook.
Okay, yeah,
and
Dalvin Cook I think is a first-round talent for sure.
And then after that, I would want either the best lineman available or McCaffrey.
Lineman on either side or offensive lineman.
Offensive lineman.
That's what I thought.
The Giants definitely need
Giants defensive line is all right.
Yeah, the Giants offensive line definitely needs help.
Yeah,
definitely needs help. So, but
come on, but they need help.
If you look at that offense, if they were to get a Dalvin Cook, you're running out Odell Beckham, Brandon Marshall, Sterling Shepard, Tavares King, Shane Vereen, and one of those running backs.
Yeah. The floor for that team would be a 2 seed.
Yeah.
I think it would be between them and the Cowboys. 1-2.
Yeah, one of them would be a wild card, and one of them will win the division and be the one.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
That's how I feel about it too.
One of them is the best 5 team that's ever been.
It could be. It could be. The Giants' defense is definitely built that way.
Yep.
And you look at players like Landon Collins. I mean, we're talking about the draft, where you don't necessarily know what guys are going to do in their first year. So, looking at the quarterbacks, talking about the first year, would you, if you're one of these quarterbacks, I've listened to Mahomes talk a lot.
Yep.
Because I didn't know anything about him. I know more about him and Watson than Trubisky by a lot. So Mahomes can throw it a fucking mile. He threw it 80 yards on his workout day.
That's that's how far Flacco threw.
Yeah, he threw the ball 80 yards. I mean, and I was listening to him get interviewed. The Oklahoma game, he threw 88 passes, threw for 734 yards in that big
88 passes.
Yeah, when they lost 66-59 to Mayfield.
Did they run it once?
No, he said they just were running a coverage that they like throwing against.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
Man, I mean, Mahomes to me, if I'm any 3 of these quarterbacks, and this is what I want you to answer, is if you're one of these guys, deep down on the outside, you have to say, I want to start. Do you want to go somewhere where you're starting day one?
I think that
you have to say you do.
Yeah,
you have to say you do.
It depends entirely, though, upon the team. Because are you wanting to start day one in Cleveland? I mean, I guess you have to.
You really do.
There's no other choice.
You really do.
But do you want to?
Like, the Jets is that team for me. Like, I don't want to play for the Jets right now. San Francisco.
Because there are more pieces than just the quarterback that are needed to secure success. Just like the 49ers, when they were so rock bottom that they drafted in 05 the number 1 spot, and they took Alex Smith over Aaron Rodgers. Even if they had selected Aaron Rodgers, and just remember who Aaron Rodgers sat behind. Can we please remember that?
Yes, true story.
That is not a very minor detail. That is a huge detail.
Not necessarily in the fact that Favre was helping him get better, but in a competitive way, he's watching Favre.
Brett was, though, because Brett Favre is the ultimate locker room player. He is the ultimate teammate.
Yeah.
You watch him, he just fucks with his players all the time in the locker room and interviews. He's a fun guy to be around. That's why everybody loved Brett Favre, right? So, anyway, the 49ers did not just need a quarterback to fix everything. They had an offensive line to attend to. And I don't remember what year it was. I want to say it was about 2009, 2010. They drafted 2 offensive linemen in the top 10 picks, I want to say. They
Okay.
had 2 picks in the top 10 of the first round, used them both on offensive linemen. Immediately, Frank Gore's numbers shot through the roof. Alex Smith had time to pass. He and Vernon Davis set the NFL record, single season record for most touchdowns from a tight end, a quarterback to tight end duo.
Which got broken by
Gronkowski and Brady.
And Julius Thomas.
I
think he did it first. I think they did it first, and then Gronk broke it again.
That sounds right.
I'm pretty sure Julius.
Did it.
I think
it
Julius did.
I
think Julius had 14 for the Broncos the year when you remember
Davis
when
had 13?
Manning
That
started
right.
the season in Denver with that 7 touchdown game against the Ravens.
Yeah.
When the Ravens won the Super Bowl, but didn't get to play at home because the Orioles had a home game.
But my point is,
yes.
Alex Smith looked like a bad choice up until they fixed the actual problem, which was the entire front line and quarterback dynamic.
But even still, it was a bad choice because Aaron Rodgers was the right choice.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would agree with that. His ceiling is much higher. I agree with that.
He's just a better player.
I am glad, though, and you can't deny, that Alex Smith going to KC along with Reed turned them around entirely.
Yeah.
Because Reed is an offensive-minded coach, and Alex Smith scored higher on the it's not a litmus test. What the hell?
The Wonderlic.
The Wonderlic. I don't know what Alex scored on the Wonderlic, but I would imagine it beat Andrew Luck.
Oh, really?
I would imagine it beat Andrew Luck. And we can verify that, and maybe somebody out there listening right now can do the research for us and tell me how stupid I am. But
I've never taken the Wonderlic. I don't know what it consists of.
It's basically the IQ test for quarterbacks. I mean, that generally, that's the consensus among analysts, or analysts.
Analysis.
Oh, my goodness. It's late.
Analysts. A little bit.
But anyway, Alex Smith is very cerebral. He finished his master's before he left college, I believe, and he graduated as a junior. So he's one of those smart kids.
This is the only podcast spending this much time on Alex Smith this week. You goddamn Utah
and you know
graduate.
What? I hope he's listening. I hope he's listening right now because goddamn it, that guy is amazing. I'm telling you, he doesn't get the credit he deserves.
Can we talk about Pirtle or whatever the hell Turtle, whatever your basketball?
He's in Toronto. He's in Toronto. He'll go to the next round.
Is there any more Utah things that we need to?
Yes, Garrett Bowles actually, the offensive left end, is slated to be the Giants' pick at number 23. If you are interested in knowing who Garrett Bowles is and just what he's about, and maybe this will get Kevin excited as well, go to YouTube right now. Type in Garrett Bowles. That's Garrett Bowles, Bowles.
You're yelling.
And
You're
put
back up.
and put USC. You can turn it down later.
I'm not editing anything. Just
against USC. He had a block against USC. 2016, I believe, but whatever. That'll hash out. It's the internet. You guys know what's going on. Just search this. This guy is a monster. You want him.
Okay.
The Giants want this guy. Garrett Bowles, do your research. He's dumb as rocks, but the Giants has a good front office, and that will turn a guy dumb as rocks into a blossoming NFL star.
All right,
as we've seen with Eli Manning.
one sneaky. All right, so two draft thoughts from me.
Yeah.
Number one, I think Cleveland can actually become a good team within 2 years if they go Garrett Watson at 1-12. If they go Garrett Watson at 1-12, that is a
friend at 12 for sure.
I can't imagine he won't be unless there's a run on these guys in the first, which I just don't see it.
If you put 2 winners in 2 captain positions,
that changes. It changes a franchise. It changes a franchise.
It does, but you have to remember the qualifier here, which is the front office. You can never count them out. They have to take very light and calculated and smart footsteps from there on out. But yes, I think they can do it. Good luck.
hey, it could work.
Cubs won last year.
Yeah. Second thought.
You can do it.
Second thought is Jabril Peppers.
Yes.
Test positive for a diluted sample, which basically means he had watered down pee.
Oops. And why are you drinking so much water, Jabril?
Well, that's the speculation. If you're an NFL executive, does this change your draft board? It doesn't change his playing ability at all. It doesn't change his eligibility to play. I mean, he's going to play. There's no suspensions for this, right?
If anything, it was over anxiety, where he was just like, I need to make sure that.
Well, if anything, he smoked a joint and drank 18 bottles of water.
Or his friend did next to him, and he's freaking out because this guy's a good player and he doesn't want to sacrifice even tens of thousands of dollars, let alone hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions, which it could mean the difference.
I think if teams let him fall down their draft board, then another team later in the first round is just going to end up luckier for that.
I agree.
I just think he's a great player.
I
and
agree.
he's gonna be fine. All right, last thing.
Last thing, and then I'm out of here.
Then we're done. What's the thing you're most looking forward to in the draft? Number one exciting thing. And then actually we'll talk about Adrian Peterson real quick.
The Niners pick. I mean, that's really what I'm invested in. They're the worst year ever to have the number 2 pick, in my opinion. But not necessarily if you just stay away from the media darlings. There's always going to be talent there. Always, no matter what. Just because it's not the quarterback doesn't mean it's not there. I like that kid out of Stanford. I think that's probably...
Yep, Solomon Thomas. Thomas, yeah.
I think they're leaning more towards him.
All right, you want to run through? We'll run through one mock draft here.
Let's do it.
Let's see what CBS Sports have. Who do we want to trust? Do you know who any of these guys are?
CBS Sports is pretty.
No, you know what? We're not doing CBS Sports. Get out of here, CBS. We're just making fun of their website. It's too cluttered. Too much stuff going on here. All right, so let's see. We've got NFL Mock Draft 2017 from Dieter Kurtenbach.
Let's hear what he has to say.
Of Fox Sports. So we have
Fox Sports.
Myles Garrett.
Yep.
Goes to the Browns.
Yep.
49ers, your boy Solomon Thomas from Stanford.
Yep.
Marshawn Lattimore from Ohio State. Now, is Lattimore the one with the allegations against him, or was it the other Ohio State player? I'll have to check on that. I don't have it in front of me.
Not sure.
Jonathan Allen.
I like that pick.
To the Jaguars,
But we
the
don't need
defensive
a tackle.
tackle.
We need an end. That's the problem.
The Titans taking Mike Williams, the receiver from Clemson, who had obviously a big national title game, and the Titans could definitely use offensive help there.
Yes. That's a scary team.
Here you go. So Fox has Watson to the Jets.
Yep.
Now, I think if O.J. Howard's here, the Jets take Howard. The Jets haven't had a tight end. Did you know there is some I'm going to find this and have it on next week's show. I'm not going to waste anybody's time trying to remember it now. There is an absurd stat on Jets receiving numbers for tight ends in the last 5 years.
Really?
Like it's insane. It's
insanely
like
high?
No. It's like the worst of all time.
Yeah, okay, that's
like
what I thought.
Like legitimately,
I can't name one.
Like legitimately the least output out of a group of tight ends in NFL history.
Yeah,
it's insane. I'll do some research on that for next week's show, but it's insane how bad they've been.
Wow.
All right, so Chargers at 7 with Malik Hooker from Ohio State.
Yep.
Panthers at 8, which is so crazy that the Panthers are 8. They actually have McCaffrey here, which is. That seemed early for me. I don't think McCaffrey goes before Fournette.
Do you think McCaffrey works in Carolina? I mean, honestly.
No, I think the power game is a little better. I think if Fournette was there's no way they'd pass on him over McCaffrey, right? All right, so I disagree with that.
Yeah.
Derek Barnett to Tennessee, from Tennessee to the Bengals. Bills at 10, Corey Davis, the receiver from Western Michigan. Another linebacker from Alabama, Reuben Foster, who... This has a little bit of a different scenario with his positive test. However, it doesn't seem like it's going to make a difference, and the shoulder seems okay. So, Foster to the Saints, and now we can pause on the Saints. Does Adrian Peterson of the Saints move the needle at all for you?
Yeah, I think the Saints are probably going to go defensive end or linebacker, one of the two, for sure. Whoever the best player is in that position, I think that's who the Saints are going after, just because it's the safest bet. I think Leonard Fournette for them... I don't know. While they're still as good in the passing game as they are with Breeze, I don't think that they go that direction with that high a pick. I think it's rare for them to be here. They want to make it count.
Yeah. So, but does Peterson? Do you care about him playing for the Saints now?
I don't care where he plays, man. Anywhere. I don't see it being successful anywhere, to be honest with you.
All right. So Trubisky, they have him to the Browns here. So I guess the thought is if Watson or Trubisky lasts to 12, Cleveland goes quarterback.
Yeah,
after
whichever
Garrett.
the highest quarterback is at 12, they take is probably the consensus.
I don't necessarily disagree with that.
I don't see two teams taking both quarterbacks before they get to 12.
This one I'm surprised by. He has the Cardinals getting O.J. Howard at 13. That seems late.
Dude, he's been coveted. I would be surprised if he fell past the Titans, to be honest with you. I think
agree
the
with
Titans
that.
take them.
I think O.J. Howard might be a player that people trade up to get.
True.
I think that's a sneaky one.
Yeah, maybe even at 2.
Yeah, all right. So the Eagles from the Vikings at 14. Garyon Conley from Ohio State. This is the player I was thinking of before, by the way.
Yep.
All right, so 15, your boy Jamal Adams drops all the way to the Colts. That would be a phenomenal get for a team that's building a defense.
It seriously would. Yeah, he would be a huge game changer, and he should have a chip on his shoulders if he falls that far, in my opinion.
All right, Hassan Reddick, linebacker from Temple to the Ravens. I don't know anything about him. So
good luck, Dan.
The Redskins, John Ross, the receiver out of Washington.
That kid.
So fast.
Love-hate relationship. We should have been in the title game.
Taco Charlton, who has been flying up draft boards, falls all the way to 18 here.
I could see him there or at the Saints pick.
I think he'd go a lot earlier than that.
Yeah, the Saints I see picking him up.
So Cam Robinson, tackle to the Bucks.
Great
We don't need to talk about the offensive lineman.
No.
Forrest Lamp, which is a hysterical name.
Yeah.
Out of Western Kentucky, Forrest Lamp. Fuck yeah, I like that guy. Number 20,
Forrest.
Number 21. Can you imagine if Detroit had Fournette fall to them at 21?
Yeah, whatever. It's Detroit. They're done.
They're done.
They had their chance. They had their chance.
All right, Zach Cunningham, linebacker, Vanderbilt to the Dolphins.
Good pick.
Sure. We get to the Giants and we find a tackle named Ryan Ramczyk from Wisconsin.
Garrett Bowles making a big mistake.
Your boy.
Garrett Bowles.
Raiders defensive tackle Malik McDowell.
Yeah.
25 Texans take your boy.
Garrett Bowles. Yeah, whatever. 23, 25. That's where he should go. Right about there. He's a beast. Look him up.
I don't know if Houston is sitting here.
And he's a left tackle as well.
Houston's
or a left end.
Houston should go up and get a quarterback. That's a good team.
Yeah.
If you think you can win, go get Deshaun Watson.
Yeah.
Honestly. Or if you think Trubisky's the guy, go get him.
Yep.
26, Kevin King out of Washington to the Seahawks, another Pac-12 guy.
Yeah, they need another CB because Sherman's out of there.
Jared Davis, the linebacker to Florida, or from Florida, goes to the Chiefs in here.
Yep.
Cowboys get Harris out of Missouri. Packers take Humphrey out of...
Hey, not an offensive player. Good
I
job,
know.
Cowboys.
Out of yeah, right.
Good job, Cowboys.
Look at you. And the Steelers take a Woozy from Colorado. And then the Falcons have the last pick. Oh, the Saints have the last pick in the first round because I thought there just was 31 picks because the Patriots lost theirs.
Yeah.
So we get a defensive end and a cornerback to close out the first round.
Makes
the
sense.
quarterbacks and the running backs. There's no good receivers aside from Williams and Ross.
And Ross. Yeah.
So
Ross just has a sense for where the ball is going to be. He makes insane over-the-shoulder catches, and that's exactly what I'm looking for out of a wide receiver because it means he can catch on the fly. If you cannot catch it over your shoulder in stride, I don't have any words for you. You're not my receiver.
You're not my guy. All right, that's Dan Condie.
You got it.
We'll be hearing more from him soon.
Very soon.
All right, we'll see you later, bud.
The Calhoun Show.
All right, Dan Condie, a pleasure, as always, to have here on the Calhoun Show. And that is it for the Calhoun Show. I'm going to watch some playoff basketball. I'm going to watch a little Nashville, St. Louis. Gonna have some fun. And yeah, you guys have a wonderful weekend. I'm so excited and happy and hashtag blessed to have this opportunity on Friday and Saturday and through the weekend, and I can't wait to tell you guys about it next week. It should be a lot of fun. So enjoy the draft, enjoy the playoffs, enjoy all the good things. Some cool stuff happening around here, and I'm going to tell you about it in the next couple of months. So let's get going, boys and girls. Have a great weekend. Talk to you later. Oh yeah, and happy birthday, Stephanie.
Thank you for listening to The Calhoun Show. Join the conversation by following the show on Twitter @Calhoun Show and emailing the show at calhounshow@gmail.com. You can also find us on Facebook, and don't forget to subscribe and download for free on iTunes. Want to hear yourself on the show? Leave us a voicemail by calling 860-740-2119.